colleagues. I want to thank you very much in terms of your indulgence to be able to bear with us. We realized that we didn't want to have a conflict of your audience with our esteemed members of the military. This is why we gave them precedence. This is the last time we are doing it. Of course, when you inform the government, they will also be following us. But I want to appreciate your indulgence, and I want to thank you for coming. Colleagues who are here present from the civics, from the diplomatic corps, we appreciate you. Our statement is a statement that is focusing on the ballot scandal that we have in this country, particularly after we have unearthed what we perceive to be a consistent pattern of having commissions and omissions that are determined to render our election discredited and illegitimate. So I'll read the statement, which is very unusual and uncharacteristic of me, but I'll do that because it's very important for this statement to be understood. It's going to be a bit longish, but I'll try to truncate it so that it suits your issues. Fellow Zimbabweans, I come to you to express my gratitude for the tremendous support, solidarity, and kindness that you have shown to the cause, to us, particularly the MDC Alliance, and myself in particular as Nelson Chamisa, your presidential candidate, my esteemed colleagues here present and some who are still coming, members in the MDC Alliance. I don't thank you enough, particularly the people of Zimbabwe, for the inspiring courage, bravery, and commitment that we have demonstrated in the last few months as we prepare for this forthcoming election. We've gone far and wide. We've done a total of 49 rallies across the whole country. No other candidate has done that similar number of rallies. Mr. Mnangagwa can't because of old age, and we definitely feel that we are ahead in terms of the time because nobody's going to catch that kind of speed and frequency of rallies. It is within that context that we feel that as we have moved around, the spirit of freedom abounds across the land. And I'm humbled to be walking hand in hand with all the people of Zimbabwe to our soon-to-come inevitable final victory. I also want to take this opportunity to publicly welcome our guests, the regional and international observers, who have come from around the world to be a witness to our election on the 30th of July, this 2018. They are here because they know that this is a historic election. It is not an event, but it is a process, and it will not end in a single day. It is a process that begins well before the polling day, and does continue after the polling day. And until at least we have a transfer of power. And this is why, within that context, we are also emphasizing that we need to agree on a transfer of power matrix, a handover, takeover, because it's clear that power is going to shift hands, and it will shift hands in our direction. So we need to start also to work in the context of a mechanism. In Ghana, they have what they call the government transitional aids. But in our own situation, there's a vacuum. We do not have a legislative framework. We need to work on that in the context of our historical circumstances. Yes, it is important for us to also understand that we must thank our international observers, particularly when they enjoy the usual traditional hospitality of the people of Zimbabwe. Our country is a great country. Our people are a kind people, very generous. You must feel at home. They will not harm you. They will embrace you. They will not harass you. They will not in any way persecute you. They are good people. So as you travel around the country, please take time to enjoy the gifts of nature that God the Almighty has bestowed on this wonderful country. It is a great country. It is going to be greater after the elections. Fellow Zimbabweans, the few months that we've been going around the country have been truly phenomenal. We've connected with the rest of the country. As the MDC family, we rose from the depths of mourning and despair when in February we lost our icon, the father of democracy, the doyen of good governance, the hero of heroes, Dr. Richard Morgan Chandra. And of course, we have started to dream and believe once again. His funeral, which was well covered, came as a seed to the renewal of the spirit of the struggle that he guided with impeccable and stoic courageous leadership. As I traverse the country, I see great hope and deep passion in the eyes of the people I meet, the young and the old, the men and the women, the boys and the girls, whose future is at stake in this election. We are a nation of a kind and generous people with great courage, big hearts, resilience and creativity. These qualities have seen us through very difficult circumstances, tough times, but we bank on these important attributes as we see ourselves through this historic moment. There can be no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, fellow countrymen, that we stand at the important juncture in the history of our country. We can choose to be progressive, taking the path that is guided by intergenerational consensus, and of course look forward, not look backwards, but continue with the new politics, not old politics, the new economics, not the old economics, that has left our country broken, divided, and impoverished. We are supposed to go beyond this, and to be able to go beyond this, the choice is ours. And we need to make sure that we choose the correct path. This country, which attained its independence through the blood of revered and courageous brave men and women who fought, and some died even before they exercised their right to vote, wanted one man, one vote, the sovereign will of the people. It is for this reason that I am not going to betray the members who have fallen, the heroes who have fallen, who wanted to see this country on the path to a legitimate election in all material times. Our forefathers, foremothers, who staged a crusade for the liberation of all African countries, and in particular our country, built this foundation on the credit of the legacy and an epic emboldenment of institutions that are important, particularly the AU and SADC, that are very important as we go forward in terms of cultivating and fertilizing our good governance narrative and also effective democracy. The challenges that we face as Zimbabwe, ladies and gentlemen, are far bigger than partisan politics, are far bigger than party politics, including even my own party, which I lead. We are a divided nation, we are a broken people. We need to be together in order for us to realize the national vision that is more important in terms of the viability of this nation. This is why it is clear that we are ready for the moment and we are ready to move forward. But however, in these circumstances, it is regrettable to know that there are certain forces that are inimical to progress and reform and are standing in the way of the people of Zimbabwe to realize happiness. This is not new, but it cannot be allowed to defeat the will of our people. An inclusive, free and fair election is important. It is the only route to legitimacy. It is the only map out of this morass. It is the only gateway to our success as a country. Without legitimacy and stability, there can never be economic recovery, let alone progress in this country. But, as I already said, certain forces are threatening the attainment of that legitimacy. Of course, my brother E.D. Mnangagwa's hands are not clean. This he has to confront as a challenge that effect. The fulcrum of a free and fair, credible election is the referee. You are currently watching the World Cup. It's clear that even in a World Cup, you obviously have to have an independent referee. Now, in the context of our elections, it's important for ZEC to be a credible referee. They have not shown so. They are not willing to even show the capacity that they are credible. Yes, to my brother Mnangagwa, even in a boxing ring, people hug and of course share smiles before a fight. That is how it should be. That is how we should move. But of course I've given him and extended an olive branch to him. I've given him a hug. He has shrugged it off. He has not shown any willingness and capacity to unite this nation. I'm ready as a nation builder. He has shown himself to be the opposite of what I stand for and the attributes that I carry. It is in that context that the referee, who must not only be free and also fair, but must be seen to be fair, has to show that they have credentials of seriousness to conduct a clear, free and fair election as a reform. The practice of democracy that our citizens afford is a practice that leaders are elected by those whom they lead. Over the past 2 decades, we've gone through a series of disputed elections that have plunged this country into persistent crisis of legitimacy. Our people are yearning for a fresh start, a new beginning, and a new renewed hope. A faith that they have in the potential of their country, with vast resources, great resources, 60 minerals, including our 61st mineral, which is the people of Zimbabwe. A great joy indeed. We have come a long way, and we are here today. The current government, which took over from Mr. Mugabe, the former president of this country, the 18th of November in 2017, did so on the pretext that they are ensuring a free, fair, and election. And they've said that Zimbabwe is open for business. And our issue is, if we are open for business, why can't we be open for a transparent, free, and fair election? Why can't we be open for the business of elections? Why can't we be open for a clear business of an open and transparent ballot printing that we are calling for? We are obviously currently witnessing a regime that simply talks, but not intend to hold elections. They are bold in declarations, bold in word, but not in deed. Very strong in terms of talk, but not in their work. And for that reason, we've said in terms of the constitution of this country, Section 156, the conduct of elections and referendums have to be transparent. And whatever method is used, they're supposed to be simple, accurate, verifiable, and secure as well as transparent. It is important that our supreme law envisages the verifiability, security, and transparency of the election. No one can therefore deny Zimbabwe, including the country, because this entrenched fundamentally, because our history is manipulated elections in Zimbabwe, the crisis of credible elections, which has been born out of mistrust between government and the people of Zimbabwe. The ZEC board is constantly charged with the administration of elections. It has shown that it is either incapable or unwilling to provide Zimbabweans with a verifiable, secure, transparent election as required by the law and international standards governing democratic elections. There has been an insensitive disregard for the principles of transparency, among other very pertinent issues that we are raising. Number one, there has been a refusal to provide stakeholders with proper voters' roll, with pictures. The voters' roll is very clear in terms of the law. The voter is not supposed to be secret. What is supposed to be secret is the vote. But Chibumba doesn't seem to read the law properly. That's why she's saying, no, we can't release the photographs. But the voter is not secret. What is secret is the vote. And we need to educate her in that regard. Number two, ZEC has refused parties an opportunity to observe the printing of the ballot papers and proceeded to print without the knowledge of the stakeholders. We are saying this advisedly and informed by our own intelligence sources, that what they did in 2013 was to manipulate the ballot, so that they use a ballot that has certain consequences in terms of manipulating the will of the people. At an appropriate time, I'm going to demonstrate to the nation, perhaps not today, how they did it, because I have impeccable sources in government, senior sources, who actually revealed certain information. And I'm going to engage President Mnangagwa as I articulate, so that I give him the information, so that there is no doubt as to the skullduggery and shenanigans that they've been undertaking in manipulating the will of the people. Number three, ZEC has not put in place mechanism for joint storage and collective storage of the printed ballots until they get into the secure hand of the one who is going to vote. ZEC has also failed to put in place mechanisms for the distribution, because we have to have the paper trail of the sensitive material, the ink, and all other such material related to balloting, so that we have confidence in the process in line with the constitution of this country. ZEC has allowed state media to run a smear campaign against opposition candidates without any reprimand. ZEC has allowed people in the rural areas to be abused, terrorized. Their serial numbers being requested and demanded. ZEC has said nothing. President Mnangagwa said nothing. In fact, President Mnangagwa has even gone ahead to encourage his candidates to violate the rights of citizens, particularly in the rural areas, by abusing traditional leaders, by also abusing other state institutions for purposes of an election. Our constitution is very clear in terms of section 155 that a candidate must have reasonable access to material information necessary to participate effectively. Section 156 makes it clear that ZEC must ensure that whatever method is used, it must be simple, secure, verifiable, and transparent. That has not been the case. Our constitution is even further clear that we are not demanding new rights and new laws. We are simply demanding the existing laws and rights that have been given full effect. This is not too much to ask. ZEC should start working hard to satisfy the contestants, the candidates, myself, instead of ridiculing them by casting aspersions and suggesting that demands are trivial. Yes, Judge Gumba said she would want an earthquake. I'm sure I will have one, so that we are able to deal with the issues that we are raising. It is constitutional for us, for any citizen, and for us as candidates to request information in terms of section 62, subsection 1, together with section 67 in terms of our political rights. So it is the law. If it is about the law, we are ready to play on the law. She must not implement the law selectively and subjectively. She seems to read the law with a squint eye or with some tinted glasses. She must read the law appropriately. And we are able to encourage her and help her if she has problems with reading and interpreting it. Our great concern, fellow countrymen, is that over the years, we've had problems with the voters' roll, and we still have the problem with the voters' roll. And this is why, of late, we've seen out of pressure, they've released a piecemeal voters' roll, a half-baked voters' roll, without the pictures. When we push that, it is not because we are difficult, we are not stubborn. We want a happy country, we want a prosperous country. In fact, we love our country, but it has to be a semblance of standards, norms, and values that are respected. We remind you that only 5 years ago, ZEC utterly refused to provide my predecessor, the icon of this struggle, Dr. Richard Morgan Chagrat, with a voters' roll. Up to now, we don't have that voters' roll, the 2013 voters' roll. This time, we are not repeating the mistakes of 2013. We will not go into an election that has its own machinations. We would rather be in a grave or be in a prison cell or a jail than to be in a ballot box, which is a jail, but disguised as a salvation box. We will not do that, and we will not allow it. But even if we are to go ahead, ZEC has fallen far short of what is supposed to be done in terms of the voters' roll. And I said from the beginning that please bear with me because I'm almost completing, but I wanted to go through this issue so that it's important. In terms of our view, the voters' roll that has been released is not fit for purpose. It is not legally compliant. It cannot be credibly used to record the conduct of the voting process. It cannot be used to be able to forensically audit the process on our own. They refuse to do an independent audit, but we can do it. We do not have evidence of whether or not this is going to be the final roll. They may even change the roll at midnight, nocturnally, nicodemously. We must be able to deal with it. It is this document that we want to see in good order, in verifiable order. And of course, instead of undertaking to correct the numerous inconsistencies and errors in the voters' roll, ZEC has chosen to adopt a very arrogant, high road, which is dangerous, which demonstrates that they take Zimbabweans for granted. But of course, we are their guests if they choose to take that high road. We are also ready. Instead of promising to correct the problems in the voters' roll before the election, the ZEC chairperson and ZEC choose to downplay those anomalies as if it is the only necessary thing to correct them. Now, I must emphasize that we have not gotten there yet, but we are almost being tempted and being driven into beginning to say that the ZEC chairperson and the ZEC commissioners are incapable of leading this election. And under those circumstances, we are going to be tempted to ask SADC and AU to come and take over the process so that it's an independent process by an independent and impartial referee. It's within our political rights, it's within our constitution. Because if ZEC is choosing to be ZANU, then it means that we do not have an independent electoral commission. There must be a distinction between ZANU and ZEC. The reason why Mnangagwa is not complaining about this election is because he is part of the people who are plotting and planning the layout of the ballot, as has already been articulated by my team. That is what they are doing. He knows where it is being secretly printed. All of us don't know. He knows the number of ballots that have been printed. We all do not know as candidates, and that cannot be allowed. And ZEC is obviously choosing to throw away the whistle and join the other team, or even go out of the stadium, allow the other team to be the referee. We cannot allow that. That must be stopped. You understand this nomenclature because you are watching the World Cup. Instead of undertaking to deal with this issue, we have raised critical red lines. The issue which is a red line and a deal breaker is the issue of the ballot paper. We will not go into an election with a ballot paper that is not agreed upon. Not to say that we will not participate in an election, but there will be no election. There can't be an election where there is no agreed ballot paper. This is not Mnangagwa's private limited. This is not Chiwenga's private limited. It's not a Chamisa private limited. It is a people's country with a private limited on the people. They are the ones with the title deeds of this country. And we will not allow any leader to think that they are above the people. There is no ruler. We have leaders, and they must be accountable to the led. And this is why we are going to be ready to lead the people, even if it means to walk on the seas, or in the oceans, or on the mountains, or even in the caves. We are ready to make sure that we provide that leadership until we have a free and fair election. And we'll have an election on the 30th of July, but with a ballot that is agreed upon. Not in a ballot that is printed in aisles, or in back rooms, or in shacks, or in part rooms, or ZANU-PF headquarters, or at harvest house. It must be agreed upon, and we will not accept. Because this is not a ZANU-PF primary. It is a national election. We are part of it. They can't have it alone. We have to work together. It takes two to tango. They can't do it alone. This is our country. It is the people's country, and we'll lead it. And of course, Mr. Mnangagwa must also be ready to be a potential leader of the opposition very soon, once we have had that election. In terms of another critical concern, I've already told you, we cannot just have the box ticking, which is tokenism, that seeks to hoodwink the people of Zimbabwe. We cannot be cheated, and we will not be cheated. And this is the reason why we have embarked on a very detailed multi-stakeholder process to engage a lot of the international community. I'll go to the way forward so that I don't waste a lot of your time. Of course, we're going to release our statement, which is quite lengthy and detailed. But in terms of the clear way forward, we are simply saying that as far as we are concerned, this 2018 election cannot afford to be yet another disputed election, because that will be dashed hopes and lost hope for democracy, but also for economic stability. Our people are sick and tired, and they cannot take it anymore. I was happy to hear that the soldiers are saying they will respect the constitution of this country, and let it be the walk, not just the talk. That would be good. We want the respecting of the constitution of Zimbabwe in letter and in spirit. What is clear, ladies and gentlemen, fellow countrymen, is that we have an election process that is in a process stalemate, arising out of the ballot scandal and the voters' rolls and inadequacies and omissions. This has culminated in an election crisis, which we are now declaring because we are not agreed on the process. We are part of those people who are supposed to participate in that process. This election will win, and there's going to be an election in Zimbabwe and we'll win it. But it has to be done with an agreed ballot paper. Nothing less, nothing more. We are not here to cause problems. We are here to have a credible election so that every citizen has the right to articulate their will. So as a way forward, we have a 6-point program, 7, on what should be done to go forward. First, there has to be the unilateral withdrawal of the unilateral and illegitimate, illegal, ongoing printing sham ballot paper. That must be stopped immediately. I don't understand how they ended up having 1 up to 14, with Mnangagwa then being the first one on the other column. It has to be scientific. There must be an explanation to the candidates. You can't choose where Mnangagwa must be placed in terms of the alphabet. We will not allow that. It will not happen. Yes, he's a crocodile. but they are also kings of the jungle. You know, we are not talking about the seas here. Number two, an inclusive, transparent process has to be done in terms of designing, printing, and solving the storage, distribution of the ballot paper, agreed upon by all stakeholders, ourselves included, and other such political parties, 20 or so, have to be there, including Mnangagwa. The fact that Mnangagwa is also not complaining or crying with us, it shows that the crocodile is indeed shedding crocodile tears. But we do not want crocodile tears. We want the real tears, human tears, on these issues, so that we are able to build our nation together and be able to come together as a people. There must be an emergency meeting, which is the third one, with ZEC, to resolve all these urgent issues. If they are not resolved, we have our alternatives, and we will articulate them in due course. Number four, there has to be an urgent meeting with President Mnangagwa. In fact, I met his chief advisor this morning. I wrote to him again, after I wrote to him in the first place, and he decided to splash my letter childishly and immature in the newspaper in the Herald. But of course, that doesn't worry me. When you are the big guy in the room, you also have to put up with what kids do. So it's not a problem. I understand. We have to embark on a nationwide stakeholder consultation to correct the path in resolving this impasse. Of course, we are going to go far and wide. We are ready to engage Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans have to tell us, you have to tell us what you want for this country. Under these circumstances, do you want us to be part of this shop? If you don't want us to be part of this shop, what do we do? This is your power. Take it. And so that we provide solutions and answers. We are going to dispatch special envoys of our principals in the alliance. Professor Nube, Advocate Biti, Sakwinje, Gujitu, Ngaruvume, and Tambara, Brigadier, to go into the region together with other senior leaders from the MDC, to go and engage the region. We are writing to them special messages on the crisis we currently have, and that they shepherded a process which they then could not see to its logical conclusion. We are now having an aborted transition, an arrested transition in the country on account of our colleagues who are refusing to play according to the rules. We are also going to brief all international observers on this current logjam, including our diplomats in this country. Of course, I have already briefed some of them, including some very senior diplomats in the country. So we therefore are calling upon SADC and the AU to immediately, including the international community, the United Nations included, to intervene and save the collapsing process and abet the imminent legitimate crisis. We will not allow Mr. Mnangagwa and his friends to get away with murder literally or metaphorically. We will have a proper election in this country, and we are ready for any consequence, until we have a free and fair election in Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. I will now ask for the questions from you in terms of clarification on this unusually very long statement, which I think is very important for you to appreciate and understand where we stand and where we are going as a country. Thank you very much.
Deployment of army personnel in rural areas, which the opposition has mentioned in the past to say that there are army personnel that have been deployed into the rural areas. What's your response to this?
Isn't you are saying that they've refuted the allegation? Did they give you evidence of what they are saying? He who alleges must prove. We are ready to prove as people who allege where we have problems with certain people who are probably masquerading as the army. It could be that it's not the army, but they must be able to then smoke those people out so that they are not in the rural areas. Just yesterday in Gumunyu there are people who were masquerading as soldiers, then saying we are going to build a school, so we want all the traditional leaders, all the chiefs, all the people to come and congregate. Who then have problems. So if there are people who are tarnishing the image of our great army, our patriotic and professional army, the military, then we must be able to jointly deal with such people so that there is no abuse of traditional leaders, there is no abuse of people in the villages. People must be free to campaign. Nobody must abuse the name of the army or pretend to be the army when they are not the army. Yes.
If you are not going to agree on the transference of the ballot papers, are you going to boycott the elections?
I told you, Richmond, that we can't boycott ourselves. We are the Zimbabweans. We are Zimbabwe. We can't boycott this election. There will be no election. This is a political crisis. Nobody has got the monopoly to say an election must go ahead if we're not agreed on that election. Because you can't go to an election alone. And you can't impose unilaterally, because the Constitution is empowering us to pursue our rights, to make sure that an election is a proper election. If they choose to have any other activity, it's not an election. And there will not be an illegitimate election in Zimbabwe. It is for your rights. It is for your rights. It is for every Zimbabwean's right to have a proper election. It's for Mnangagwa's advantage to have a stable society. There will not be any legitimacy and stability if we do not have a free and fair election. Why should we have a repetition of the past 38 years? Only because you want to remain in power. Only because you want to impose yourself on the people of Zimbabwe. We can't afford that. We must be able to go that route back to legitimacy, where people are elected, not imposed.
If you are going to win the election, are you going to withdraw the allegations you are leveling against ZEC?
Look, if we are going to win the election, it's not because ZEC has helped us, or it's not because the allegations have been proven to be false. It's simply because we have an overwhelming force that is going to sweep away ZEC's shenanigans, ZEC's tomfoolery, and whatever they may choose to do in tactics and antics. We are very clear. We will not apologize to anyone. We will simply apologize to the people of Zimbabwe if we have committed any offense. But so far we carry their mood, we carry their expectation, we carry their momentum, and they agree with us. I've been to the country far and wide. I've been to Madebeleland, I've been to Tongaland, I've been to Manicaland, I've been to Singoland, I've been to Mashonaland. People have the same language. We want a ZEC we trust. We can't trust this ZEC. This ZEC is so biased. This ZEC has a perforated opinion of what people want, and we must help them to lacerate their misfortune.
Advocate, you represent the NDC alliance, but you speak as if you are representing all the other political parties. Is this a common position with all the other political parties whom we don't represent?
I told you that I represent the party elite and the alliance partners whom I work with. In terms of other parties, I'm sure you can also go to their headquarters if they have any.
No, you are saying that you as the NDC alliance, there will be no election. It appears as if it's a common position of all the other political parties.
Oh, of course, there's been some kind of consensus building which you are still pursuing in the context of what you're saying. You know, yes, we have not been able to come to a common position on that, but it's being worked out. So that there is unanimity. This is not an MDC alliance issue or ZANU-PF issue or any other party issue. What's the name of Ngosana's party? Apa is it a party? You can't say Apa. Whatever party he has to be able to be engaged. Because at the end of the day, it's about all of us. This is not a partisan affair. It's for all of us as a country. In fact, it will benefit all of us. You, myself, all of us have to benefit from this process. So yes, we'll engage. But we are saying that because we know that people understand where we are coming from. They support us, and we are privileged, we are humbled, that they have a lot of confidence in us. We will not abuse that trust. This is why we are not going to allow our people to be cheated and deceived once more and once again, like what has been happening. President Tsvangirai, thank God, he's not with us. May his soul rest in peace. But that man suffered a lot of deceptions and cheatings at the hands of my colleague in ZANU-PF. I will not allow those, deceptions to also be imposed. I'm a young man. I have a lot of energy, and I'm ready for anything. As you can see, being young is an advantage.
In your process of engagements, have you had an opportunity to engage Mr. Mugabe?
Well, why would I engage Mr. Mugabe, who must rest? I'm actually working on his pension. That is the only engagement that I may have to have with him.
There was talk that you met him last week when you're coming from Israel.
And thank you for saying that. I mean, this is the herald of nonsense. The herald is now gotten accustomed to this bad habit, and I must engage ED on that. Especially his spokesperson, Charama. His perchance to lie is legendary in the encyclopedia. How would you even say that I've been to, what's this country? To Dubai. I've never been to Dubai in my whole life. My passport is there, my record is there. I went to Israel on a private visit. I went via Addis Ababa. I've never met Mugabe. And I have no intention of meeting him anytime soon. But of course, as a former president, perhaps when I become president of the country, I must respect the founding fathers. Even if I don't agree with him, I will then meet him at an appropriate time.
Thank you.
Can we please, the President, say your name and your organization, please?
Well, I know most of them.
Will you think the army will accept you as the next president?
They've already accepted me. And they've been saluting, not now in Chamisa, but the authoritarian. So I am not worried. They are a patriotic army, they are a professional army. I work with the army very well. In fact, I respect them. If there's one thing that moves me and tickles me, it is the honor of our people, men and boys in uniform. I respect them. They are my agenda item #1 in terms of restoring their honor. What they are getting out of the kind of output they are giving in patriotism to their country is not commensurate with the kind of smart work they are giving. So I have no problem with the soldiers, and I have no issue with our army. My issue is with a political party. We are political players. They are not in this election as an army. They are not on the ballot. The army is not on the ballot. What is on the ballot is poverty, represented by Mr. Mnangagwa, and that is what we want to defeat.
Mr. Chamisa, these statements
There's no question.
the statements they are making now, they seem to be a repetition of events from 2002. On the eve of elections, you seem to be making similar statements to sort of mean that the electorate should listen to you and then wait for a call that yes, we are now going to get into an election, or we are not going to get into an election because they've got challenges with either ZEC or SANUPF or something like that. Don't you think this is actually confusing the voters, because the voters listen to you, but at the end of the day, they now don't know whether you are going to run in this race?
I told you that I'm running and I'm winning this race. Why are you confused? The people who support us are very clear, but they also want a proper process. And we've said that we are engaging ZEC to make sure that we have a proper printing ballot process that we agree on. So we're not doing what we've done before. In the past, we've never raised issues around printing. But this is for the first time because we have reason to say so. And we're not, don't worry about our people, the Zimbabwe. They understand where we are going. They are the ones who have actually asked me to make sure that we resolve this issue.
And if all those issues you've raised are not addressed,
I told you that there will be no election. There can't be an election. Choose what to call it, but there can't be an election. Because when you have an election, there's choice. If we're not there, what are you choosing? Can you choose Mnangagwa alone? They might as well choose some other place. Maybe at their party headquarters or some other area where they just say we're imposing him as a candidate. But it can't be an election. No way of getting this thing of putting Mnangagwa in an advantage. Watch the space. We will not repeat the mistakes of 2013 or any other. We mean it. Yes? Yes. Thank you.
How do you respond to people who say that the plan was never to go to elections, that this is all choreographed, that you and ED have made a plan that you go to a GNU, and that is why it was now starting all the steps? And what is do you have a deadline for this report?
I'm fascinated. Prof, you know, this Chamisa, you donate him to ED, you donate him to Grace, you donate him to Robert Mugabe, you donate him. Why can't you just donate me to myself? I have no time to do shady deals or backroom things. In my whole life, I've never deceived people. I've never betrayed. I've always been loyal. I believe in transparency, openness, and to make sure that we engage. People must not mistake my openness to dialogue with anyone, even across the aisle. Yes, colleagues in Zanu are supposed to be respected as fellow Zimbabweans, because we want to lead a country with Zimbabweans from across the political divide. But I've never engaged Mnangagwa on anything. In fact, on record, I've never had a call with Mnangagwa. I've never had a discussion with Mnangagwa. I requested one, you know, after I became the president of this opposition, to say I need out of courtesy to just discuss on nation building issues and how we do business, the do's and don'ts of political, you know, gladiators who are in a competition before we go into the boxing ring. So forget about it. There's no deal. There can never be any deal. We want a free and fair election. If Mnangagwa wants to be part of us in calling for this, he's welcome.
So is there a deadline to these new developments?
Look, the deadline is today. It must be done today. If it is not done, we escalate to the next level. I gave you a multi-tier process of what we are going to pursue to make sure that this is achieved.
Now I'm asking, elections are in 3 weeks' time. So if all your principles are going to stand, how long is this all going to take?
You will see. We are not going to review all our tactics and strategy. Otherwise, this cease to be tactics and strategy. I've told you, you know the direction we are taking, and I'm sure I'm very clear. I've really tried to be as open as possible. But you know, openness does not mean negative. Otherwise, it ceases to be of strategic value.
Mr. Chamisa, sir, you have been accused of just banter, talking and threatening and saying this will not happen.
Accused by who?
By in the body politic. You have been saying that you want a voters' roll. This will not happen if you don't get this. But ZEC has ignored you. They've totally ignored you. In fact, they've actually accused you of being trivial. So what exactly are you going to do? Because already 30 July is coming. And
please choose who to believe. We said our say, ZEC said their say. Choose who to believe. Thank you.
Advocate, if the opposition wins an election in Zimbabwe and elsewhere they were free and fair, and if the ruling party does the same, the election was rigged, what's your take with reference to your allegations about the playing field?
Are you now giving me an analysis?
No.
Where you want in
it's with reference to your...
I've told you, see, don't look at us as an opposition. Look at us as a government in waiting.
Oh, well, but there is the ruling party and you are the opposition.
Yeah.
Yes. So
look at us as a government in waiting.
Yes.
And you must know that at the moment, because we're in election.
And if the government in waiting wins an election, it's free and fair. But if the ruling party does the same?
It's for the people of Zimbabwe to say it was a free and fair election. Or for our opposition, Mnangagwa, to say their own verdict. We have a right to say that verdict before an election and after an election.
But we have never had an election where you have not complained against. Some people have referred to you as crybabies, and where elections are
for the
concerned.
first time, Richmond. I've never been a candidate before for the president. And please, give me my space to win this election hands down and defeat Mr. Mnangagwa, the outgoing president. Please, just allow me. Thank you. Would we still have President Richard?
Yeah, please. You seemed to suggest there will be civil unrest if your demands are not met before the election.
We are peace doers. We are instruments of peace. 18 years of struggle, we have never resorted to arms of war. Not because we do not have the capacity, but because we do not have the appetite for that route. We will never ever be tempted to go the route of violence. Violence is not part of our DNA. We are Dutch. We believe in peace. But we can use instruments of peace to make sure that we express ourselves. And those who have in abundance, those who have instruments of violence can use instruments of violence, and we'll see what wins between light and darkness. Light always comes first best. And we will win this election. We will win in terms of our struggle. So don't worry about violence. We will not. We don't want violence. We want stability. We want consistent and legitimacy in elections. If anything, people who must be accused of inciting violence in this country are the ones who want to rig the election. People who do not agree on a simple thing. We want to write this examination, but let us agree on a syllabus. Let us agree on the invigilators. Don't impose on us a question paper that we have not prepared for. It's a simple, basic thing. Even school children would understand that this is basic considerations of values of fairness. That's what we are saying. We don't want things that are, these are not legislative issues. These are political will issues. In South Africa, you have to print the ballot with all the players. That is the case elsewhere. I know that in Kenya they have to go to court around the issues of the voters' roll and the printing of the ballot. And that's what we are insisting.
Stability, issues around stability.
Yeah, sorry?
You talked about stability or possible instability if your demands are not. That's what I'm talking about.
We are in circumstances of instability at the moment because there is no agreement politically. And we are saying it will continue even if we go into election, which is a sham of an election. That is the context I said. Not that I am going to be the ancestor or ambassador of instability. Never. If anything, we are actually holding the population to be accountable and to go through a legitimate process. We believe in elections, but free and fair elections, not sham elections. I'm sure I've done justice to you. Yes, last.
Or
maybe
you are the government in waiting, and you'll be responsible for appointing as a chairperson. Who and how will you do it?
Well, I suppose you must understand that there is a constitutional process that has to be followed in terms of the appointment of the ZEC process. By the way, I may want to just share with colleagues a little bit. I was responsible for the interviews of most of the ZEC commission, but from a parliamentary perspective, as the chair of the legal and procedural affairs. But I'm doubting some of the credentials that they were showing when we were interviewing them are not manifesting in reality. They are beginning to show a huge gap between the rhetoric that they were giving us through the interviews and the practice that we are seeing. We want a free and fair election. We want to respect our institutions, national institutions, but they have to be respected when they also respect citizens. Mind you, this is not a Chamisa issue or any MDC alliance issue. It's a people's issue. You go in the streets, people are raising these fundamental concerns. Last, gender is important. In engendered communities and endangered communities. So we want to hear from our fellow journalists. Last.
My name is Sophia Matranga. I'm a freelance journalist. Mr. Chamisa, you've indicated that the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is not free referee, and you potentially engage the SADC and the AU to come and conduct those elections. Do we potentially see a postponement of the election considering the time span that is left?
There should be no postponement of an election. There should simply be an administrative arrangement on the ballot. If the ballot is not such a big issue, why are they dragging their feet? Why are they pussyfooting? Why? But they know that that is their ticket to try, and that's why you have seen they've been holding this funny and phony opinion service. Where would Mnangagwa get 70% in this country? Even in his own family, he will not get a 70%. And you think that we are all going to be fooled around? That Mnangagwa will get a 70%. For what? You'll be lucky to get 25%. And I've said this over and over again. We listen, they have intelligence reports. They have been given reports through the various security arms. They get reports every day. They know what the people want. They know who the people are going to vote for. And that's why you see me being the target and candidate of attack in the Herald. But it has also given me the anointing and the oil, and I like it. The Herald is helping me, and I want to thank them for freely advertising. They are doing a good job. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, may God bless you. Thank you very much. God bless you, Zimbabwe. I know that I have not exhausted your questions, and you have more questions, but yes, you must know that you must continue to have that appetite, and we'll give you what you need every time. Thank you. God bless you.